Hello everybody, this is Local Tico Brohe. We're coming back with part 2 of our Warrior solo run. Gear is all the same as last time. Important things to know, we're wearing the Immortal set for the health regen. The Warrior's band we're using has Calamitous Lunge. I believe it also has Arc of on it, but we don't use that ability. Then we have Rusted for slows, Gold for silence, Dragon's Flight for dragon damage, Bitter End for regular damage, Dwells in Light for magic damage. Getting started, Fortress Remembrance. We did not get Ghosts this time. That makes me happy. The reason that makes me happy is if we got the Ghosts configuration, it's not the Ghosts that are frustrating, but rather it's the two Liches that would have been on the first bridge portion of the Fortress of Remembrance later. They like to just float up and avoid you entirely while they cast. Or they'll float off the side. Both circumstances we can't really do anything with, so we're quite pleased to have this configuration instead. You saw me take care of the wargs there to begin. We do that simply because the poison undead aren't super dangerous. They're not going to rush me down or anything like that. They do some good field denial, but there's no way I can really kill them before the wargs attack me. So it's easier to just step forward, let the wargs show up, kill the wargs, and then move on to these guys again. If we're lucky, one or two might wander off the edge. It'll speed things up. But if it doesn't happen, it's not critical. Once again, we do stream these runs over at twitch.tv/localticobrohe. I am live every weekday during the day. This was our successful warrior run, but oh, there goes one. This is our successful warrior run, so we are done with warrior. But we have begun a ranger playthrough, so as I'm doing this voice recording, literally yesterday we made the character, and that character's at level 10. It is the weekend now, it is Saturday morning. So on Monday we'll continue leveling it. We are unlikely to power level it with like Blast Arrow Death. So it'll take a few days before we're maxed out levels wise. We're gonna level that one all ranger. But you should stop in sometime. Talk about the game. Talk about what we hope to see with our announced sequel that we are all super jazzed about. Returning to this run, obviously we are doing the full run, so we will be going into the Pilgrim's Gauntlet. Neither configuration's terrible. The Golem configuration is faster. It appears to be the configuration we got. I can tell because the Dragon configuration has Hellhounds. This one has Banshees. So, seeing that we got Banshees, I can be pretty comfortable with the rest of this room. Golems don't really pose much of an issue for us in the warrior. The alternative, maintaining the Hellhounds configuration with the higher Saurian. The difficulty is that, or what makes it slower is that there's a fire drake, which is already kind of slow to kill, but it's accompanied by like 7 ghosts or something like that. I actually don't know how many ghosts it is. It's a good number. Certainly plenty of ghosts. And it slows it down because we don't really want to fight the dragon and the ghosts all together, so we kind of lure the ghosts to an area off to the side, slowly kill them, and then move on to the dragon. It just takes longer. It's not really, like I said, difficult. It just takes longer. Yeah, that was me confirming that we had the golem configuration. I know these configurations pretty well, obviously, but sometimes I get confused. Sometimes I forget. You know, sometimes I can be pretty sure that this is the configuration where X, Y, or Z happens, and then it's actually A, B, and C. And I'm like, oh yeah, whoops. So that was me just double checking. I did forget about the sirens. Actually, I don't know. I might not have forgotten about the sirens. I remember that we had done a run previously where we completely forgot about the sirens with this configuration. I believe when we did this run, we did remember it. This is me responding to chat. We do stream these live, like I said. This pauses so that I don't miss out on anything. I believe there are 3 sirens. We can see 2, one right there, one that was down the hall a little further. I don't know if 3 is actually the correct number. We'll find out together, I guess, but I'm pretty sure it's more than 2. Hell, it might be even more than that. There's one there. Okay, so it's 4, not 3. At any rate, 2 golems. We want to make sure that we don't paralyze them. For whatever reason, my game the last couple days, it might just be because Warrior does so much damage, but it hasn't been telling me when I have hit the medallion that will freeze it. It hasn't been glowing the way it normally does. But I want to make sure I get that foot, because if we accidentally freeze him in any configuration that isn't on the ground, we don't hit the foot, and that's going to be a problem. Coming off of the Sorcerer run and going into this one, fighting these guys is like a breath of fresh air. Any of you who have fought a solo Sorcerer against these guys will know that it's a terrible, terrible thing. It is not fun by any stretch of the word or imagination. So, fighting these guys as a warrior is a pretty comfortable change of pace. Yeah, see there the medallion didn't glow, and that one stunned it. Obviously it didn't matter much, but that's what I'm talking about, where the last few times I've done this fight, I haven't seen any medallions glow, and I'll stun it. There it wasn't an issue, but we had a couple of runs previously where we would have it stunned in an odd place, and we'd have to like try and get things done quickly. Fortunately, as a warrior, it takes like 2 hits to break any medallion. But still, the pressure's on, right? So this configuration I was saying doesn't have the 2 liches. It has the 1 lich, though. So we still have a lich to deal with. But fortunately, 1 lich is still better than 2. I will take it over 2 liches any day. What's more, I believe we don't end up having the lich down below later. That might be wrong, though. We'll see. Again, usually I'm pretty confident about what configuration I'm seeing, but there's a lot of things rolling around inside this brain. We'll see. And basically what the Lich is doing right now is exactly what I was talking about. That's why they are not fun for us. He's just off to the side. There's nothing I can do to hit him. Even if he lowered, I wouldn't really be able to reach him there. So, like, I just have to be patient and wait for him to move. Fortunately, as a warrior, we're actually in a pretty decent spot where we can, if he does get relatively low, we can hit him. Because our jumping light attack swings from up to down. So we actually reach up a little bit to hit him. As a fighter, we kind of sweep across. We don't really sweep up when we do a jumping attack. So often, Liches will take even longer to deal with, and they are just not fun. As much as I like playing fighter, I like warrior better, but as much as I like playing fighter, I don't know how eager I am to do a solo run with it again. I have done some in the past, don't get me wrong. I don't know how eager I'd be to do another one anytime soon, just because of these fights here. All of the flying enemies, as a warrior, are a little bit annoying, but not bad. Except for Liches. Liches are really the only one that's bad. Doing the same fights as a fighter is honestly pretty bad. It's pretty bad. In comparison, it's in my opinion much worse. Damn. If we hadn't missed that last hit, not that one there, but I mean right before that, where I said damn. If we hadn't missed that hit, we would have killed him then. Unfortunately, he lowered again really quickly, so it's not even a lost situation. It only added a couple seconds, but like sometimes he'll just float up, and then we'll spend another 20 seconds trying to get just one hit in, and it's just a painful process. Here, a few more poisoned undead. They're slow. They have way too much defenses, but we're not really concerned about them. I don't like fighting them here. But the main reason I don't like fighting them is I'm really bad at seeing where the poison pools are. I am red-green colorblind. The poison pools are green. And yes, I do know that I just said poison really weird. My brain was going a different place. That's poison. But yeah, the poison pools are green. Depending on the angle I'll hold the camera at, I can see them quite fine. But then sometimes I'll move the camera different ways. The lighting will change, and then I just don't really see them. And then I end up walking into them a lot. So they're not my fave. But thankfully, they aren't really that critical. You'll see I've split damage on these guys instead of focusing on one down so that I have less targets. I usually try and focus one down. The reason we didn't do that here is because at one point they kind of had the first one I was targeting was protected nicely by the poison pools on the ground. So I couldn't really hit him without pretty much ensuring I would take damage. So what we did instead was we opted to just hit the other one. That way we have some damage out. And then once we managed that, we went back to the other. We obviously could have switched back to the first one much sooner than we did, but then my brain was thinking tunnel on the one that we were hitting already. Which was probably a mistake, but like obviously not a grievous one. Okay, we do have the Lich down here. I couldn't remember. I guess it's the other configuration that has the eliminators down here. That's okay, once again, it's only one. Nice and low. Let's get some hits in while we can. Alright, he blew up immediately. Cool. So what's nice about fighting this specific Lich is there are a number of other things we can fight, and we have a good area to do so. So like while we're waiting for this Lich to get into positions, it's not like we're wasting time. So I can just wail on this guy up until the point where the Lich moves in a place that I want him to, such as now. Then I can just switch to hitting him, and then I can go right back to hitting this big guy. Yeah, see, like there I stepped into the poison pool. What is unfortunate is obviously that the Lich can heal these guys, but realistically his healing isn't that good. We usually out-damage him if we're actually being proactive, so it doesn't really make a huge difference. I'm pretty sure Liches won't heal themselves. I don't know if their spell will heal themselves if they float into it after they've cast it at somebody else. I haven't noticed that before. It would make sense if they could, but again, I don't know. But fortunately, they don't cast it on themselves, so we don't have to worry about having to take out multiple health bars of the Lich when we can't actually hit it most of the time. Love it. I hate that little pustule that they drop that'll debilitate you. It looks like right now we have defense down, defense down, and magic down, which is good for us if we're using strength, right? If we had been using Dwells in Light at this time instead of Bitter End, we may have chosen to switch to Bitter End because our strength is still fine, but our magic damage is down. But obviously we're not currently using that, so we can just keep it here. That's just something to be aware of when you are fighting these guys. If you do happen to get hit by a pustule and you're using like holy weapons to deal a little bit of extra oomph, or, you know, for style reasons or something like that, it might be worth switching to a weapon with higher strength if it doesn't have that element, just because you've lost some magic. But that would be only a consideration if your damage is close to one another. Obviously, if your magic is far and away the better option, you'll probably want to use it. Here I'm switching to Dwells in Light out of habit, because that's what we usually use on these guys. As I just explained, it's probably not the right choice. We are having a debuff that's lowering our magic stat. So, Bitter End probably would be the better option. Now our stat just went away. Here I'm switching to Bitter End because I was like, man, our damage is really bad there. Let me go back. But I didn't realize that the debuff switched off. I'm also max health, so I don't need the health portion back from the Bitter End. Or sorry, not from the Bitter End, from the Dwells in Light. But yeah, as I explained earlier, probably not the best idea. Now, I believe in this room we had the Strigoi and the Succubi configuration. Which we do. I can hear it. This is the faster configuration for sure. This configuration also can net us death instead of the other one, which can give us Cursed Dragon. The reason I say this one is faster is because we can very quickly lure all 13 Succubi and one Strigoi. We can very quickly lure all 13 Succubi into an area where we can hit them by just standing outside the cage. But you'll see we'll stand near the cage. That way, when they do that move right there, when they rush at us, they don't hit us. We don't want to be hit by them. They can curse us, which is going to lower our strength. We don't want that. They can do a number of things. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and just get behind that little gate every time. Now, when I was doing this live, and if you watch me do this live, you'll note that I always count out loud which Succubi we've killed. I know there are 13. I have been burned on a no-hit run thinking I've killed all 13 when it's only been like 12 or 11 because I didn't count. So I will usually count them out loud. There we missed the turn, so we got stuck on the outside of the gate. So we got our strength down, so now we're going to deal less damage. Fortunately, it doesn't change the number of hits it takes for us to kill them. It still is only 2. But that's an oopsie whoopsie. And we have had Death spawn. You can hear him now. The music changed. Death in this area is a little uncomfortable while the Succubi still live. Our hope is to kill all the Succubi before Death really notices us. The reason for that is if the Succubi... We can't just stay inside our cage because Death's scythe reaches through the cage. If the Succubi, however, grab us, we're going to be stationary and we won't be able to evade Death's lantern or his scythe. So, not killing these Succubi could spell our doom if we don't do it with enough time to evade Death. In this case, we can hear that we haven't. I don't know how many we have. I think at this point we've killed either like 11 or 12 maybe. So we only have 1 or 2 Succubi to deal with. And there was one, because we just saw he got a kill of some sort, and that was 2. So we might actually be good at this point. I think we are. So now we can focus on Death. Death is a little bit awkward in this area. The verticality of the level. The verticality that this area has is, which yes, I'm aware verticality is a real word. It's a holdover from something else. But the verticality that we have here is a bit of a detriment because Death's abilities move in a big AoE around him, so we can't just be above him Death also can drift up or down while he's using his scythe, so we can't just be like up or down or anything like that. And it makes it so that sometimes we can't hit him, but he can hit us. It makes Death a bit more scary in this area. Fortunately, we've gotten him in a good spot right here. We can still reach him. On that, I'm going to pull him there. I don't want to run away too fast because Death will just follow me, and then I won't have anywhere left to run, and then he can just scythe us. So you'll see I'll kind of stay a little bit close, and then I'll start walking away so that I can try and get him in this corner right here where the bridge and the walkway meet, so that I can deal the damage before we're done. It seems to be working out so far. For those of you who aren't aware of how Death really works as far as when he leaves, if you take a really long time, Death will just go. Or if he harvests a bunch of souls, a lot of time Death will go. But if you are dealing damage to him, when you deal about a health bar's worth of damage, depending on whatever his health bar started at, if you deal like a full health bar damage, Death will often try and leave. In this case, we dealt a health bar's worth of damage, so he's gone. So it's nice. There you saw I use Pommel Bash. We do that for two reasons. One, Pommel Bash actually does bludgeoning damage. So even if you're using a sword, you can get some bludgeoning damage by using Pommel Bash. Pommel Bash is also very quick, so it's pretty nice. And has high stagger. But we use Pommel Bash for two reasons. One, it's excellent damage, but two, swinging on that one that was down there, we actually don't hit the medallion very often. If we had done the, I don't remember what the name of the core skill is, but the faster combination, where it's just XXX, if you are on PC, I guess it would be square, or sorry, not PC, an Xbox controller. On a PlayStation controller, I would guess it's square, square, square. It would be left, 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 left click, left click, left click on PC. But if we do light attack, light attack, light attack, the vertical swing would hit the medallion, but the other two like often won't. It's just faster if we just switch to Pommel Bash. With the Eminence Augment, our jumping light attacks actually do crazy damage. Pommel Bash, without jumping, literally did slightly more damage to these medallions because they're weaker to bludgeoning. That's how... The reason I mentioned that is because it's indicative of the damage type change when you use Pommel Bash, regardless of whether you're using a sword or a hammer. You get bludgeoning damage. That is useful to know. Obviously, that's good on skeletons as well. I often try and just hit the skeletons in the head, though, by jumping, because you have very clean up-to-down swings with the two-handed weapons, so I try and often just hit them in the head, but that Exodus slash was kind of silly. We pretty much only ever want to be below these guys on the stairs to try and hit them. Hitting them from above is pretty much impossible. So I'm not really sure why I even attempted that. I know better. But, you know, knowing better and doing better are two different things, I suppose. Just ask any role model ever. I'm really happy we managed to get this guy by himself. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure he ends up hitting one of these Saurian. Ultimately, I don't really want to fight him and the Saurian at the same time, because it's really easy for the Saurian to, not necessarily like knock us down or anything, but stagger us briefly so that we can't evade him or knock him down when he charges at us. And if he knocks us down, a stomp is only an action away. And I'm not good at remembering to use controlled fall, which is a fantastic ability. You should definitely use it if you are playing a red vocation. But yeah, I'm not particularly good at remembering that I could do that. So oftentimes if I get knocked down, I don't end up using controlled fall, which is my own damn fault. I know that. But That's what makes these guys scary. Their damage output's not scary. Their moveset's not scary. It's just if I mess up once and I get knocked down and I'm close enough to them to stomp, they will do it. And I'm not good enough at toggle escapes either to evade without using the aggression augment, which we very clearly do not have. When I was not as good at solo warrior, I would often use, and fighter for example, for that matter, I would often use the aggression augment when I was in Bitterblack Isle because the sheer number of enemies that do have grabs. But over the years, I've gotten much better at kind of manipulating the enemies into positions where I don't think that they will use those abilities, or if they use those abilities, I know they're coming out and I can evade them. Because we have the Saurian configuration, I know we're going to have Wraiths in the next room. That's why you see me switching swords. There's going to be there's going to be Wraiths as well as Giant Geo-Saurian. We are going to try and deal with all of the ghosts before any of the Saurians. We're going to stay up here by the door for two reasons. One, if the Wraiths land on top of us, they often will hop off of our heads. But two, if something crazy happens, I can walk through that doorway, and it actually resets the room. It'll reset where everything is. It'll reset the health of everything as well, but anything that's died won't come back. It's a little bit of a cheeky thing to do if things are going really south. In this case, it's totally fine. That's a big one that we just hit there. We want to hit that as soon as possible because when you hit it, it'll stop trying to grab you when it's big. And we don't want to be grabbed by a big one because it'll actually drain our health. You'll see when I get grabbed by the little ones, I don't really seem to care. It's because I have the full Immortal set. We actually regen more health than they can do to us. You'll see my health go down to 48-19 and then immediately back up to 20. Over and over again. My common strategy for dealing with a group of Wraiths is literally just to wear one like a hat. When I'm doing a solo run as a warrior. Just wear one like a hat. Or same thing with fighter. But wear one like a hat and then hit the other ones. Tried and true method. Pretty successful. We still want to stay over here even if we are planning on wearing one like a hat though, because eventually we'll have to get the one that's on our head off. And we could do it by using the explosive barrel down below. But if we just stand here, it'll also pop off of us pretty consistently. There we caught fire because the giant Geosaurians will light us on fire often. It'll go away. But you see that fire damage is actually more than I regen. That's an example as to why before we were hitting the fire drakes on the wings instead of at the heart. Because we can catch fire if we're too close to the heart for too long. And it will actually do pretty decent damage to us. If we stay on fire the whole time we fight a fire drake, because we're just constantly wailing on the hearts, we hurt a lot. And then it just takes one accident, one misstep to get ended by like either a bite that we failed to exit a slash, or he does the thing where he flies into the air and lands back down immediately. Slam. We don't want either of those. All the enemies are dead. Dark Bishop. I love Dark Bishop. My favorite fight in the game. Pretty easy. We're going to use Dragon's Flight to deal with the dragon. Makes sense. Just sprint in there. A few jumping heavies. We're going to try and kill him as fast as possible. For whatever reason, as a warrior, on our previous two attempts, the bishop flew into the hallway, which makes it way harder on us, and then the dragon also would fly up. I don't know. It's like one of those laws where if you're playing warrior, you're going to get ghosts spawning, and you're going to get flying enemies. Same thing with fighter. I don't know. This time I'm just happy that the bishop's out here instead of in the other room. So you'll see I switched to Gryphic Gold. We're going to silence the bishop. It also does pretty decent damage, considering it's not a damage weapon. Or rather, we're not using it for the damage, we're using it for the silence. I really want to get the silence off before this Fur, or Furor, whatever. But yeah, once that's down, then we switch to Bitter End to deal the damage. Unfortunately, we don't really have much we can do if he flies into the air. We're still just going to do jumping light attacks. They do a lot of damage. Jumping heavy attacks, you don't get the Eminence augment for a lot of the swings because you're not in the air. The reason we used it earlier is because it hits so many times, we can proc silence faster. If there was a specific weak point we could hit while doing a jumping heavy attack, it becomes much more valuable. For instance, when dragons are knocked down, jumping weak attacks, or jumping heavy attacks are very good. If we knock down a Elder Ogre, jumping heavy attack on the head is very good. Here, he's casting his Resurrection spell. So we're just going to keep wailing on him until the dragon's actually waking up. As Sorcerer, we started casting a spell, but here we don't need to do that because we can always just switch to the right weapon. We are going to silence him now that he's awake because the bishop's going to fly inside of him. And once that happens, we can cast very specific spells that we do not want. Now that he's silenced, I guess. I didn't hear it. Oh yeah, there it is. Now that he's silenced, we're gonna wail on him. The reason we're doing that is because we're using a weapon that specifically does extra damage to dragons. Multiple hits is valuable. Here, switch to the Calamitous Lunge. We're just gonna run into this guy on the ground a million times. I had the wrong weapon out. I didn't mean to do that. The icons in the inventory look pretty close to the same for the Gryphic Gold and Bitter End. They are different, but I just didn't notice in time. I would not have silenced him there. I know he dies before he stands up. If we didn't have Bitter End, I would consider silencing them. Actually, in fact, when we were leveling up still and going through Bitterblack the first couple times, we did silence him there, just so that when he stood up, he didn't cast at us. But, yeah, I would not have done that there. I would have just used Bitter End, but that's on me. And with that, we're going to be done with part 2. There will be one final part of our journey that will be in the next video. You will see the video end after I kill these spiders, and it'll pick up right after that point. I think we only have like 10 health that you missed between the 2 videos of me regenning. So I will see you next time. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I hope you guys watch the next one as well. Thanks, guys. Cheers.